Hi, welcome back to Sheffield Live and to Talking Sheffield. Now, my second guest for the second half hour of the show is James Locke, Managing Director of Opus Independents, who are the publishers of Now Their magazine. However, today we're here to talk about the Festival of Debate. Now, James, the first festival was in 2015.
Yeah.
What prompted that Festival of Debate?
Well, I mean, obviously initially the general election.
Right.
But I think more broadly, really, we all felt a need for the wider discussion points, the wider things that are affecting us today to be discussed. And we realised that really the only way of finding solutions to quandaries around the climate, quandaries around austerity, quandaries around the way that we are running systems are to discuss them as a group and to come up with solutions.
Yeah, excellent. How successful do you think that first outing was as a series of events?
Well, I mean, it depends on, how you judge it. I would have said it was very successful for us. It was a first outing. We did 44 events in 2 months. We had attendances of around 2,000 over the period. And the feedback from attendees was really positive. They felt like they'd had a chance to engage, to become a bit more informed about certain topics. We worked with about 60 volunteers over that period as well, so I think there was a certain amount of engagement success through there and giving people new opportunities to become a bit more au fait with event promotion and marketing, all the things that go along with an event series. So I think it went really well.
Excellent. And there was quite a broad range of events or types of events that went off. Everything from poetry reading, arts events, debates, and keynote speakers. What were the highlights for you of that first Festival of Debate?
I mean, in terms of keynote speakers, hearing George Monbiot speak was really quite impressive. I mean, he was talking about his campaign around rewilding, which is fascinating in its own right, but really actually just watching someone at the top of their game just having that breadth of knowledge, that ability to respond to any question, to look at it in a multi-layered approach and to be articulate in those responses was just, incredible to see and quite enviable to see as well. I wish I could keep information like that in my head. Yeah.
Now, you're doing it all again in 2016.
Yeah.
That being the case, what will be the same and what will be different this time?
I mean, I'd like to be able to tell you that the world is a much better place and a lot of the problems that we experienced in 2015 are no longer issues, but that isn't the case. Inequality is growing year on year, climate change issues are getting worse and worse. Austerity, of course, is a huge issue, and the economic system that espouses from as well. So we will be covering a lot of the same issues in many ways, but there are some really current issues that are coming up for Britain in particular at the moment. The EU referendum, so we'll have some events on that. We will also be looking at some of the issues around fracking, which is particularly pertinent for Sheffield at the moment. So I like to think there's something new there for everyone, but of course, and also the devolution event that you were doing, Nigel.
Yes, indeed, one of my little events, which seems to drag on and on. Devolution. We were promised a very quick and snappy decision on devolution. That doesn't appear to be happening now. So that will be an interesting what next type of approach. You're splitting it this year into 2 seasons.
Yeah.
You're doing a spring and an autumn season.
Yeah.
What's the particular reason for that? Is that just to be able to fit more in?
In part. And it's also because Opus Independence itself, we're a very small group of people, not necessarily in size or stature, but in terms of numbers. And really last year, in the lead up to the general election, there was that real immediacy and that pressure to deliver those events in the run up to that election. Whereas this year, of course, we've got a bit more time and perhaps we can manage our resources in a bit more of a work-life balance friendly kind of way. So that's one of the reasons. But the other reason really is to try and create this impression of a city constantly in discussion with itself, which I think is really important, and I think it sets a good example for other cities in the UK who should also be encouraging this level of participation, which I think brings a certain level of empowerment as well. So that's another reason why we're doing it over 2 seasons.
It's interesting that fits in with my previous speaker, Vicky, who has leading Sheffield for Democracy, one of their big efforts is to try and get more people engaged and participating in local democracy and in politics in general. So I guess the Festival of Debate is, in a very similar way, trying to achieve that sort of aim, to get people more involved in their local and national debates.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the festival, you're able to provide those variety of settings. And I think that really helps. Some people may prefer to engage in issues in a more creative way through poetry or a music event. They may prefer to attend a seminar or a workshop rather than a keynote speech. Other people may be more interested in hearing the big wigs, I guess, speak. So we're trying to provide a platform for different people to have different levels of experience that suit them.
And of course, the events last time were in various different parts of the city centre and beyond. Is that the case again this year?
Yeah, it is. Actually, we're using more venues this year,
Right.
16 venues in the spring season, which is fantastic and also indicative of the wider support that the festival's received this year from a variety of social enterprises, community groups, universities, institutions, the whole host. Yeah.
Okay. So this year, thinking just about the spring season, I suppose, to start with, how many events are you expecting? What are the range of ideas and debates that you'll be promoting?
We're looking at 40 events for the spring season, which will take place over March, April and May. And the range of issues, really, I mean, obviously we've got International Women's Day in March, so we'll be having some events around gender politics and gender image in the media. We've also got austerity and debt and the psychology of debt. We've got some cracking keynote speakers this year. So we've got Professor David Nutt, who was famously let go by Gordon Brown for his independent review of British drugs policy. We've also got Bridget Christie, the comedian, and perhaps slightly controversially, we have Julian Assange as well, the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks.
Presumably not attending in person?
No, not yet.
Not quite.
So that'll be by video link. Yeah,
Right.
It should be interesting. We're going to have Kerry Ann Mendoza from the Canary do the In Conversation with him, and obviously she does fantastic work, so we're really excited about that.
Yes, very interesting independent reporter and journalist. Very interesting stuff that she does. Okay. Who else do you have lined up this spring in terms of events? What are the areas, not just the keynote speakers, but beyond that?
Yeah, okay.
What type of events are you highlighting?
We've got a whole host of seminars and workshops, which actually I'm really, really enthusiastic about, because I think it gives you that more intimate setting that allows people to become a little bit more empowered and a little bit more active in a more concrete fashion. So we've got a lot of workshops with the parliamentary outreach team that are how do you engage with legislation and Parliament as a whole. We've got a seminar on feminist economics at the beginning of March, which should be great. We've also got a seminar on environmental economics as well, which is obviously absolutely crucial to understand going forward. We've also actually got a seminar from the New Economics Foundation, which is a masterclass in economics. And the whole aim of this seminar, which I'm really excited about, is to break economic theory down to its value judgments, essentially, where it comes from, what values is it built on, and then follow that up to understand the system as a whole. And then participants will be encouraged to come up with their own economic system, but again following that ground up from the values approach. And I think that's just a really creative and effective way of understanding why and how we value fundamentally. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, because the seminar idea is interesting, because obviously in smaller venues with fewer people, there's a better opportunity for people to engage more deeply, and clearly an opportunity to learn in these particular cases, and then to participate without having to be in a group of 100 or 200 people and having to stick your hand up to get noticed. Strikes me as that's a particularly interesting way to get people involved in a way that will stick with them then, and that hopefully will keep them going longer term. I mean, is that part of the idea behind the Festival of Debate? Get people involved not just for the festival, but beyond?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think so. I mean, when we talk about equipping people with tools for action, really what we're talking about is equipping them with information and knowledge. And I think those seminars, as you say, give people that opportunity to get a more in-depth level of knowledge. But equally, hearing someone who is famous in their field talking about what they do and why they do it could also be inspiring and provide that level of information as well. So
that's interesting, because you're not only focusing on national issues, you're also focusing on some local issues. We've commented devolution. I'm doing an event for you on devolution again to try and force that issue again into the public eye a little better than our local politicians seem to wish to do. But also there are local issues around the elections and electoral reform, which Vicky's also commented on, and I know she's chairing one of the events for you to talk about all-out elections versus the way we currently elect in Sheffield. So is the local theme also part of an important part of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it is very much so. Yeah, and we're really enthusiastic about engaging with those issues. And I mentioned fracking earlier as well as another local issue. But I mean, fracking is a good point because it's also a national issue and it's also a global issue. And I think there becomes a certain point where these things are so entwined on a regional, national, and local level that really there's a certain point where it's not helpful to talk about them in isolation. So I like to think that the festival is covering a wide berth of issues that both have a local influence as well as a national one.
Okay. Now, the full programme is due out soon.
Yes.
For the spring. You've mentioned a couple of things that you're fairly excited about. Is there any one standout item that you are really, really waiting for?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I've mentioned the Julian Assange keynote, so I think that's very exciting, and it'd be the first time that he's come to Sheffield as well. What else have we got that's pretty exciting? Let's see. So I'll tell you what, I have my tablet here with it on, so I'm gonna.
You have a sneaky preview of the schedule.
I'm gonna give myself a little sneaky preview if I can work out how to turn it on. There we go. I don't know. Right. Okay. So let's have a look at this. Oh, that was it. Yeah, Steve Bell. Actually, I'm quite excited to see Steve Bell. He's the political cartoonist. And he's pretty much lampooned every political figure going. So I'm interested to see, how that goes across and whether that comes down.
What's the event that he's doing?
So he's doing a presentation really of all his his illustrations over the years and his response to different political figures. And I'm hoping to get a bit of an insight as to what the effect of those illustrations has been. I mean, I'm also really excited actually about is money a psychological problem as well, which is an event run by the Alternative Economic Society. And I feel like money may well be a psychological problem, but I'm interested to find out why. And I think that's why these events are so important, because they grab you hopefully with a headline and then you get some more information going forward that allows you to form an opinion. Yeah,
because the interesting thing about money, of course, is that so much of it is just zeros and ones on computers. We have very little real money in the world. Most of it sits in a data bank somewhere just pretending to be money.
Yes.
Which I can see why that may be considered a psychological problem rather than a physical problem. So that should be quite interesting. Yeah, I like that idea. I can see that this is really good for the public who are attending the events, because they're going to learn stuff, they're going to be entertained in various different ways, and at the same time it's going to be an awful lot of work for you and the other organisers, including the volunteers that you rely on so heavily. What do you get out of it?
Personally, do you mean?
Personally, and as an organisation, as Opus Independents, why do you, what is it that convinces you that it's worth doing and worth putting all that effort in?
Well, I mean, personally, a sense of contributing. It feels to me like life should be about contributing. And for me, I feel like there are so many issues that I don't fully understand. There are so many solutions out there that have critiques or issues with them, and really finding a way through that quagmire, even when you're relatively well informed, is difficult. So from a personal sense, it's that feeling of contributing, but also that notion that I'll be sitting in an event and understand something slightly better, which will enable me to enjoy my life a little bit more, I think. I mean, Opus as an organisation, it's a great chance for us to work more with different groups in Sheffield. It's a great opportunity for us to push a wider number of campaigns that are relevant not only to us as individuals, but also to us as participating businesses in the local economy. So I think there are a whole host of benefits on an organisational level, but really personally, it's a labour of love.
Yeah, because there's a lot of talk these days about these network systems, about how groups of small organisations can actually have big impact by working together and by combining their efforts to, whether it's inform or whether it's develop or whether it's to create new ideas and new ways forward. Do you see that as being potentially a long-term solution that will be generated by the Festival of Debates?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think so, and I think there's a lesson to be learned, I guess, from the Festival of Debate, which is really just an umbrella, and it's a way of everybody clubbing together and being more of the sum of their parts, really. So I think, in that sense, yes, but I don't think this is new knowledge either. So.
Okay. All right, smashing. Now, the autumn season's a way off yet. You're going to have a summer in between to presumably digest what's happened in the spring and to
relax,
start to organise the autumn season. Will that be as busy as the spring season, do you think?
I want it to be bigger and better.
Bigger and better?
Yeah, of course. So if we do another 40 events, that'll be 80 events over the year. Maybe we'll get to 100. Who knows? I can hear Opus staff crying out in pain as I say that. It'll be fine. But yeah, of course.
All right. And having looked at autumn, what about 2017? Do you think there'll be another Festival of Debate?
I mean, as I said, I think it's really important. I feel like the only way we're going to solve the problems that we face today as a species is by discussing them and by informing each other and raising our game collectively. That's the only way we're going to get through this. So I think, yes, there should be another Festival of Debate, and it should be one in 2017. What that looks like, I would be open to suggestion.
Yeah. And I know that in terms of Opus Independence, you publish Now Then magazine both in Sheffield and in Manchester.
Yeah.
Is there a hope or a plan or a vague inspiration that you may move the Festival of Debate to Manchester at some point? Or
wow, Nigel.
Would you like to replicate it?
I mean, I'd be just as happy to teach people in Manchester how we've done it, to provide them with the models that we've worked through and developed. And I'm a firm believer in open source and sharing, and I'd much rather see people who are based in Manchester deliver their own Festival of Debate.
Yeah. Because a local input is obviously vital to this type of thing.
It's absolutely crucial. Yeah.
Okay. Where and when will people be able to get their hands on the programme of events?
My best bet is Tuesday next week. That's what I reckon.
So I take it's at the printers as we speak.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually hoping to have it back on Fridays. But yeah, so let's say Tuesday to be safe, and you'll find that in cinemas, restaurants, bars, libraries, retailers, all over the city.
So all the usual venues where you might pick up a Now Then magazine?
Oh, yeah, just coincidence, yeah.
Coincidence. So pick up a Now Then while you're doing that. Okay. Will it be also available online?
Yes, it will, yeah.
Okay,
so
and how will people find that?
festivaldebate.com, and you can also search for us on Twitter and Facebook as well.
All right, smashing.
We're going to ask all people to sign on an Eventbrite to register their interest in events. About 80% of the events in the spring season are free. Excellent. So it's really accessible. Anyone can come. Just let us know in advance so we can get an idea of numbers.
Yeah, completely. Because obviously some of the venues will have capacities that you need to be aware of, and others will have a more flexible approach to how many people you can fit in, depending upon whereabouts you are.
Absolutely.
All right, lovely. Now, are you still looking for ideas for the autumn season?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay. And how do people get involved in that case?
Okay, so I mean, a simple email to hello@festivaldebate.com is easy enough. Equally, approach us over social media or pick up a magazine. There's lots of contact information there as well. We want the festival to be as representative of as many issues as possible. So if you are running a campaign group or have a particular passion as an individual, please get in touch. Let us know what your ideas are, what your format for an event is. Let us know how we can help, and hopefully we'll be able to piece something together and get you in the autumn programme. Because
you have a broad range of formats, as we've already discussed, so there's nothing that's not allowed as an idea. Whether it will take off physically and practically, the guys at Opus Independent will be able to help you with that. All right, lovely. Is there anything else that you would like to mention before we finish?
Yeah, I mean, we've covered the fact that I want people to get involved. Yep. We've covered the fact that there are a range of issues, and by no means do we claim that the festival debate is representative of all those issues, but it is a work always in progress, and we are seeking collaboration from as many different people as possible. If you see the spring season and think you guys have missed something, get in touch, let us know, let us make it better.
Great. Thanks very much for your time today, James. Good of you to call in. I've been involved in the Festival of Debate both last year, and I will be involved again this year with a couple of events in the spring season and potentially a couple of events in the autumn season. So I really can recommend it to people. It's been a very good experience for me in the past, and I think it will be again this year. And certainly the audiences that I was involved with, and I know James was in a couple of those audiences, are really enthusiastic about the events when they get to them, and they get a lot from it. So check out the schedule, make sure you highlight the ones that you want, get onto Eventbrite as soon as you can, so make sure you can get into the venue and enjoy it. It's a good thing to do. Thank you again, James.
Thank you, Nigel.
That's it from me for today. I hope you will join me again next week when I will have 2 new guests, and this time not exactly friends, but people I've dealt with before and who have particular passions that they want to talk about. And that's the important thing for me. I want to get people involved in helping me to create this show. I'm interested in everything from community events, community action, campaigns that are out there, people who have an interesting story to tell. It's as simple as that. To get in touch with me, you can email me on nigel.slack.uk@gmail.com and let me know what your idea is, and I'll get back in touch with you. So thank you for joining me today. I'd like to thank again my guests, Vicky Seddon, Coordinator of Sheffield for Democracy, and James Locke from Opus Independence. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.